Hi, my name is Anna. I am a mom of three and I have a business called Little Wings Sleep and I'm a certified sleep coach. I am so glad that you are here with me today. So today we're going to be talking about some questions that I've got sent in to our questions email. If you have questions, you can send a voice memo or email in your question to questions@littlewings.ca, and every week I'm going to be answering a few of them so that you can learn about baby sleep for your child and your family. I'm also doing lives on Instagram these days, and when you are in our courses, you get to join me twice a month for live Q&As, because I truly do believe that every child is unique. And that means that yes, we can have a lot of information. And so our courses, like my courses, are packed full of information because there's so many possibilities, because every child is so different. So it's not a one size fits all scenario. There are some fundamentals of baby sleep that are to do with genetics and the body composition, but I want to make sure that you understand the why behind sleep, that you're not just like blindly following crib hour or dream feeding because your neighbor said that that might work, but you don't know how it works or if it's actually going to suit your family or not. You need to be empowered as the parent to make the choices that are best for your family, and that is why I am here. I am so glad to be here because my littlest one had croup this week. She was quite sick. She has not the greatest immune system after having some complicated breathing issues at the start of her life. And so we have been doing a lot of cuddle naps this week. And then like last night, just put her into bed and she goes to sleep and sleeps 12 hours, right? Like you can have both. I saw this post on Instagram yesterday, and it was about this mom saying that, like people are pressuring people into sleep training. I'm sure that's true, not necessarily in my world, but in other people's world. I am of the perspective that when you want to sleep train, you're ready because you're ready, and that we don't need to do it in an aggressive approach. In fact, I was reading a study this morning that was evidence pointing towards that we need regulation, and that improves night sleep, which is the whole thing. All of our sleep work is based upon that is not necessarily the traditional approach, right? We have so many different people just going, well, I just left my baby in the crib and then they eventually slept and they always slept. Well, yeah, but your baby may not feel as comfortable or as safe, or maybe that goes away once they don't understand the boundaries and the crib isn't there anymore. So it's always something that we have to keep in mind, that sleep is not just functional, it's relational too. So first question I have from Stacy here, and I'm going to read it out to you guys and then answer it. I always do not pre-read these questions so that you're getting authentic answers, as if you were my client, as if we were on a call talking about your baby and my baby or whatever. I want to be authentic. That's what I'm here for. Okay. Hi, my baby is 6 months old and has been having a sleep regression for the past 3 to 4 weeks. She used to sleep at night for up to 6-hour stretches, but the last month won't sleep longer than 2 hours, absolutely tops. Oh my goodness, this mom must be like so exhausted. I think I put too much like brow stuff on my brow. It feels sticky. Okay, but generally closer to 1 hour, and that is for naps and nighttime. So that means like 12 hours of sleep. That's 11 night wakings, my friend. Eee. She falls asleep on her own in her crib and wakes frequently to looking to nurse. Often she isn't even hungry and is just happy to put her nipple in her mouth and hold it, but nothing will calm her down except for this. It's my third child, and the first I have experienced this kind of sleep pattern with. I feel like I'm getting so little sleep that I can't even think of what I'm supposed to do. Somehow your live popped up on my IG today, and I am very excited to reach out. Stacy, I am so glad that you found us. However it popped up, meant to be. I'm so glad that you're here because, girl, you need some sleep. I have 3 kids. 3 kids is like a lot. Like someone always needs something, and someone told me that before I had 3 kids, but whew, when you're actually in it, it's a lot more. So here's the thing is, I think that you're kind of like post 4-month regression, but actually not really through the 4-month regression. I think the 4-month regression has become normal. And this is where we really need to jump in and dive into things and adjust it. I actually had a client with this same issue, very similar. Obviously, different family, different dynamics, was an only child, but would go to sleep independently, like go to sleep able to self-regulate at bedtime, but then during the night was up every 20 to 40 minutes to nurse. And as soon as the nipple was in her mouth, she'd go back to sleep. Here's the thing. When you're transitioning sleep cycles, so transitioning sleep cycles, we go through level 1 and level 2, which is light sleep. This is what you get during the 4-month regression. The other 2 levels are your developmental sleep, so your body sleep and your brain sleep. You come back around, and every time you're entering back around into that level of light sleep, however you wake up is also a part of your process of waking up. Baby here is not actually awake when they're calling for mom. They're actually going, hey, I'm starting to wake up. I feel that kind of like light drowsiness. I need the nipple, I need the nipple, I need the nipple, but isn't actually fully waking up. And so not only do we have a nurse to sleep association, we actually have a wake to feed association as well. Like she's like, I panic if I am not waking up, already latched. And so the thing is that here is actually, I would go in and I would like get baby, and then I would take them into the living room, change their diaper, and then give them a full feed. You can pause the feed, and if they get really upset, likelihood is it's because they're like, I don't want to be awake. I don't want you to wake up. I'm just trying to go back to sleep. I'm not actually hungry. But our response is like, hey, I am here for it. If you need a night feed, I am totally here for it, but we need to have a full night feed. So don't be afraid to turn on a light. Don't be afraid to change the diaper. Let's keep them awake. But ultimately, even though she's going to sleep independently at bedtime, what happens during the night becomes kind of the dictator of what happens in that 24-hour period. And because you're going through that light sleep cycle every hour, she's waking up every hour. I would really encourage you to get Sleep Baby. It would be phenomenal for your baby, and I think that you would have incredible success. Or you can like have a one-on-one 15-minute free call to discuss if you'd prefer coaching. But I definitely think that this is ideally where we actually need to address how are we waking up in the middle of the night, and then how are we getting back to sleep? Because right now she's not feeling calm and confident in that she can do it herself. She's like, when I have enough drive to sleep and I've been awake long enough and I'm feeling tired enough at bedtime, sure, I can do it. Like, that's okay. But then when she's like, I don't have any effort to go to sleep, I'm not feeling the sleep, I want to go to sleep, but I'm not, like, my body's just not like doing it for me. I actually have to think about this and do it. That's where she's really, really struggling and what we need to address. Okay, Stephanie. Hey, Anna and team. I'm loving the podcast and the live Q&As. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Stephanie. It's always so nice to know when someone likes what you're doing to help parents, and like as a strategy, even from like, where am I investing my time, right? Okay, she has 2 questions. Our little one turns 4 months old on Friday, and she's currently at an hour and 55-minute awake window and an hour and 30 depending on naps, mostly sleeping through the night. Amazing, love it. What are some signs of her being ready to increase awake windows, and how many naps need to be medium naps before starting to increase? We're still following your sleep ready signs and watching the clocks. Some days she's extremely ready, and the nap routine is one with grumpy monkey, demanding to be put in the crib, and others she's cooing happily. Just wanted to be prepared for what to expect when needing to increase awake windows. I'll do the next question after I've answered this one. What she's talking about when a medium nap is like, when in our courses, so in navigating naps or any of our courses that you get navigating naps with, we have short, medium, and long naps. Short naps are your 20 to 30 minutes. Medium naps are 40 to 55 minutes, and long naps are 60 minutes plus. When you're seeing consecutive medium naps, I'm talking about like 2 to 4 days worth, then we would start increasing awake windows. At this age, we're only going to increase by about 10-minute increments, not super huge. Whereas if she was a 12-month-old, we might increase by 15 to half an hour increments, depending on the leap we needed to make. the reason why you're seeing this kind of fluctuation on like, is she ready for sleep? Isn't she? Really could be down to a couple of things, but stimulation is likely the big one of it. Either the nap before it was really short or shorter, or that awake window, maybe like you had people visiting and they were working hard to like make eye contact and know where you were and looking around the room, or was learning something developmental. Not all awake windows are made equal. So just because we think that we have exactly the right awake window, if you're traveling, you're going to find that your baby has shorter awake windows. Question number 2. We have a doctor's appointment next week for our 4-month-old, right at the beginning of her second nap time. Doctor's appointment is right at 1:30, and we have about a 45-minute drive on either end for the appointment as well. Once I have a schedule that works and a dependable naps, I get extremely anxious to mess with the schedule because I like sleep way too much. What would you suggest? Our current schedule, rounding it a bit for simplicity, is 8 o'clock wake up with a 10 to 11:30 nap, and then a 1:30 to 3 o'clock nap, and then a 5 to 6:30 nap 3, and then an 8:30 bedtime. Thank you for everything you do for parents. Oh, thanks, Tiffany. So first of all, just on like the general life side of things, I would cut your third nap to 5 to 6, or even 5 to 5:45, and then do an earlier bedtime just to get a little bit more time in there in the night. I think that would be helpful for you and hubby to have some time in the evening, maybe. And then what I would do for this like one-off scenario, if it was me, is I would do the 10, you know that it's usually 10 to 11:30. I would do a 10 to 11 o'clock, wake baby up at 11 o'clock, and then baby is probably going to nap on the way to the doctor's. Now, if at the doctor's they are awake that whole time, if in the car it was only like a 20 to 30 minute nap, they'll probably just go back to sleep when you get in the car on the way home. And then you would adjust the nap and you would follow kind of more sleep cues for that third nap. And so it might mean an earlier bedtime, but say your appointment ends at, say, 3 o'clock, and then your drive home is 45 minutes, that's 3:45. So we have an hour and a half awake time, because it's usually an hour and 55 minutes, but it's probably going to be shorter. And I would do this last nap, like contact nap, unless like baby is feeling really, really confident and solid in the crib. But I would just shorten the first nap to be able to then get in a little cat nap on the way to the doctor, and then after the doctor. And you might even find like I would, if you have like the car seat that lifts and goes into your stroller and goes into the car, I would leave them asleep and just move the stroller, because you don't know how late that doctor is going to be, right? Am I right? And then after the doctor's, you're probably going to want to feed before you like get going in the car. So allow them to sleep as long as you kind of need to, until you need to wake them up before the doctor. Don't guarantee that the doctor's going to be on time, because she ain't. Okay, now we have a question from Jessica. Okay, here's my big question, she says. Early morning wakings, still waking up at 5:15, 5:45, and is awake and won't go back to sleep. We wait to get her from her room until she's 6 a.m. and we've implemented all of the basics. White noise, dark room, temperature controlled. We do a consistent routine before naps and bedtime. And at this point, we have tweaked our schedule and waited weeks between changes to monitor well. To no avail. Now, 9 months, what do you suggest for a really tricky early morning wakers? Out of the crib at, I know exactly what the issue is here. Out of the crib at 5:15, waking up at 5:15, 5:30, out of the crib at 6. Nap 1, 9:15 to 10:45. Second nap, 2:30 to 3:30. Bedtime, 7:45. We had more day sleep, less day sleep, earlier bedtimes, later bedtimes. She was waking up at 4 a.m., but we managed to get her to 5:15, 5:30, but we cannot seem to eliminate them now. I don't want to take away too much sleep because she's only 9 months and needs a break, and I need a break during the day. Yeah, you do. But 5:15, really? That's a long day. Another sleep consultant suggested to rouse to wake 30 minutes before her early morning waking to shock her sleep cycles. I am not waking up at 4 a.m. intentionally. Do you have experience with tricky early morning wakers? What works? Thanks so much. First of all, yes, lots and lots of experience. Second of all, I will say that trick of like waking up kids half an hour before their sleep cycle to reset their sleep cycle, so it kind of goes past that. I have used that in the thousands of babies, probably a handful of times. It doesn't particularly work. On all honesty, what the issue is here is your baby is wanting more of a, I would say, a 3 hour and 45 minute awake time, which for 9 months is long, but not unheard of. So 3.5 hours to 4.5 hours would be normal for 9.5 months. That's totally okay. They're on longer end of awake time, and they're getting a 3 hour and 15 minute awake window from getting out of the crib to first nap. The first nap is too early. The body clock is setting from the morning backwards. So the consistent time here is 9:15. And so 9:15, they're going back, and we're looking at 9:15. That's a 3 hour and 45, and baby's just creating that awake time. And so then it's going back and it's going back. So what you want to do, if we want to get to 6 a.m. or 6:30, is I want you to do 3.5 hours from your ideal morning time being nap 1. So say you want morning time to be 6 a.m. That means that the first nap needs to be 9:45 to 10 a.m. If you want it to be 7 a.m., it needs to be about 10:30. Then you're going to have your naps fall in from there. She has really good lengths of naps here, so the lengths I'm not worried about. But until the body clock is reset in the morning by shifting that nap, you might be able to shift it back once you've got the morning set, but we really need a couple of weeks of those mornings coming in a little bit later. So I would not suggest getting up at 4 a.m. You're just going to end up with a secondary association of them wanting you to wake them up at that time. I don't really think it's necessary. I think the big thing here is that the first nap is too early. So let's shift the first nap later, and that should solve the problem. And then the other question is at 5:15, 5:30, if you were wanting to get baby back to sleep, what would you need to do to get baby back to sleep? Like if you were to rock baby or feed baby, does that mean that baby will go back to sleep? In that case, do we have a secondary association, especially because baby's waking up crying? That kind of tells me, like, if there are still night feeds in there, if there are any night feeds, that definitely will be playing into this 100%, because then they're used to waking up, having a feed, and going back to sleep, but you're not feeding them at 5:15, 5:30. But yeah, so they're either waking up crying because they're like angry that they're not asleep and they want to be back asleep, and so there's some overtiredness there, or because they're not getting a night feed so they can go back to sleep. And then yeah, so you can move that later. I have, in some cases, like got them up, done a full night feed at 5 a.m. to treat it like a night waking, and then put them back down. However, at 9 months, I don't know that it's necessary. And so, yeah, I would be trying those 3 things before I would be looking at getting up at 4 a.m. intentionally. Guys, make sure you send this to one of your friends, because it's like super helpful. Like when you're in the trenches of parenthood, it is really, really hard and it's not easy. And I know that you guys want your babies to thrive. Like I was looking at a study today that directly correlates the amount and the quality of an infant's sleep to their cognitive ability. Isn't that crazy that it impacts it so much? And so send this to a friend who also has a baby. Maybe they want to send in a question to questions@littlewinks.ca. This week I will be live on Instagram at 10:30 every single day. You're welcome to come and ask your troubleshooting questions there. And remember that you actually get priority place seat time. If you have one of the courses, we're going to be doing those live Q&As again, which is amazing. It's a celebration that my little girl is well enough that I can do them again, but also a celebration that I get to help parents more. Yes. Okay, I'll see you all next week. Remember to follow along and send in your questions. I'm here to help you, friends.